somewhere in medieval Bohemia, between the years 1204 and 1230, an enormous book was produced, weighing roughly 75 kilograms, about 165 pounds, made from hundreds of sheets of animal skin parchment, with estimates commonly putting the total at roughly 160 animals. Its extraordinary scale later inspired a legend about how it was made. According to that legend, a monk facing punishment for breaking his vows promised to create the book in a single night. When midnight came and the leaves were nowhere near finished, he turned to a darker kind of prayer and asked the devil to finish what he could not. It is easy to see why the story took hold. A book of this scale, produced in an era when every leaf had to be prepared, ruled, and written by hand, looked less like the work of one lifetime and more like something that shouldn't have been possible at all. That same book still exists today. It is held by the National Library of Sweden in Stockholm, bound in leather and measuring about 92 centimeters, or just over 3 feet in height, the same volume carrying the roughly 75 kilogram weight already noted. People call it the Codex Gigas. Most people just call it the Devil's Bible. On a 2-page spread near the end, a full-page portrait of the devil faces an image of heavenly Jerusalem, the manuscript placing darkness and salvation directly across from one another. That devil portrait is the feature behind the manuscript's Devil's Bible nickname, but it's only one part of its artwork. The manuscript contains 5 images in total, along with 77 colored initials. Inside its pages, the book is stranger than the legend alone suggests. Alongside the complete Latin Vulgate Bible sit Josephus's Histories of the Jewish People, Isidore of Seville's sprawling encyclopedia known as the Etymologiae, Cosmas of Prague's Chronicle of Bohemia, the medical compilation Ars Medicinae, along with medical writings associated with Constantine the African, prayers, hymns, alphabets, and magic formulas and protective spells, with the text written in a remarkably consistent hand. The manuscript even includes a medieval calendar, a necrology recording the dead, and a list of names connected with Podlashice. Later tradition even gave the supposed scribe a name, a monk called Herman the Recluse, said to be the one who struck the desperate deal at midnight to save his own life. No surviving evidence confirms that the legendary Herman the Recluse wrote the book. Producing that much parchment alone was its own kind of labor most people never picture. An enormous supply of animal skins, often estimated at roughly 160 animals, had to become parchment first, and preparing animal skins into parchment required extensive skilled labor before copying could even begin. Then real manuscript analysis got involved. Paleographer Michael Gulick, a specialist in historical handwriting, analyzed the manuscript's handwriting and reached a conclusion very different from the legend. The legend of one impossible night has no basis in reality, according to the National Library of Sweden's own published history of the manuscript. What replaced that legend was arguably stranger than the story it disproved. Instead of a rushed, chaotic night, the evidence pointed toward the opposite. The consistency is compatible with long, careful work rather than a one-night feat. The handwriting remains remarkably consistent across the manuscript. Gulick concluded that one scribe likely wrote the entire work and probably made its initials as well. His calculations suggest that copying it in only 5 years would have required an extreme, near-continuous pace. He considered roughly 25 to 30 years more plausible. That does not prove, beyond any reasonable doubt, that a monk worked alone in one room for decades, but it does point to a likely single scribe devoting years, perhaps decades, to an extraordinary manuscript. The manuscript's real mystery may be what is missing. It is generally described as originally containing 320 leaves in total, with 8 of those leaves now gone. The National Library of Sweden says the leaves were cut from the manuscript at an unknown time. The National Library identifies the lost section as the Holy Rule of Saint Benedict, a foundational guide to Benedictine monastic life. The removed leaves have not been recovered, and why they were cut out remains unknown. What survives is a gap in the manuscript where a section was removed. For centuries, the Codex Gigas was tied to one place, the Benedictine monastery of Podlajice in Bohemia. A note on the manuscript's own first page names Podlajice as its earliest known owner, and records show the monks there pledged the book to nearby Sedlec Monastery in 1295 as a form of collateral, before repurchasing it later that same year for the Benedictine order at Brevnov. But the National Library of Sweden's own account complicates that story. Production at Podlajice is considered unlikely. The National Library says the monastery was too small and impoverished for a project of this scale. Its first known owner may not have been its creator at all. Where the Codex Gigas was actually made, and by whom, remains unresolved. Narrowed only to somewhere in Bohemia, sometime between 1204 and 1230. A gap in the record that has outlasted the legend built to fill it. From there, the trail becomes easier to follow. In 1594, Holy Roman Emperor Rudolf II brought the manuscript to Prague. Swedish forces seized it as war booty in 1648 at the end of the 30 Years' War, and it entered the collection of Sweden's Queen Christina before being kept at Stockholm Palace. It was transferred to the National Library's building on January 1, 1878, a home it has kept ever since, nearly 7 centuries after it likely left Bohemia for good. Nearly 8 centuries later, that gap in the manuscript is still there. The story people wanted was a monk, a midnight deadline, and a demon holding the pen. What the evidence actually points to is quieter and, in its own way, harder to believe. A manuscript likely produced by one scribe over years, perhaps decades, somewhere in Bohemia, credited for centuries to a monastery that may not have been the one that actually made it. No legend was needed to make any of that remarkable, and no supernatural explanation is required. That's the real story sitting inside centuries-old vellum, instead of the one that got repeated for generations. If a mystery like this is your kind of rabbit hole, hit like. Which is harder to believe, that a single scribe may have spent decades creating it, or that 8 leaves were cut from the manuscript for reasons still unknown? Drop your answer below, and subscribe for more mysteries history has never fully explained.